Hi, welcome back to the Free Gratitude Challenge. For today's practice, I'm going to invite you to get curious about the way you eat your food. I'm going to describe two kinds of meals, and I'm curious if any of these sound familiar to you. One way that I noticed myself eating during Thanksgiving and during important holidays and cultural celebrations for my family is that I spend a lot of time preparing the food. Other people bring food as well. We all sit down and have a moment where we pause and look at each other and maybe say grace or just say thank you for getting to spend time together, for all the food that's available to us. And then we sit and we eat it, having conversations with each other, but really appreciating how delicious the food in our mouths is, how good it smells, how enjoyable it is to eat it in company. Now, as a contrast, the way I find myself eating meals sometimes, especially during busy work days, is that I will get food, which probably would be delicious if I paid attention to it, and I have a laptop or a device open, and there is nourishment going in my mouth, but I probably couldn't tell you what was in that specific bite because my attention is someplace else. I think it's a very common thing that Americans do, especially when we're working. And once we start to distract ourselves from our food that way, it can almost feel like an addiction. Like, oh, I need to be doing this other thing. I'm so busy. This is my opportunity to do something maybe that's for me. Maybe I'm watching a video or reading a book or catching up on the news. Or maybe I'm so overwhelmed that I have to eat this way because I also need to get some work done. So sometimes that may feel true. But what I'd ask you to get curious about for today's practice is, are there moments when you hear that story? I have to distract myself. I have to rush through this meal. I don't have anyone to eat with right now, so I'm just going to go multitask. Is that true? Could you take a little more time, make a little ritual out of the meal where you notice, how does my food smell? What do I notice about the way that it looks that feels really appealing to me? When am I full? What am I noticing about my body as it starts to receive this food? What does it enjoy? What stories do I have about this being healthy food or not healthy food and all the places that our mind goes about our choices? And as you're just noticing all of these things come up, can you take a moment and pause at the beginning of the meal and throughout and notice everything that's in front of you? And think about all the people who touched the food and the ingredients or made the silverware, just all the different elements that came together so you could have this meal. And what does that feel like? To become a little more conscious of how many people's lives and efforts contributed to you being fed. So I'm curious to hear what feels good for you and what's a practice you may already be doing. Does your family say grace at the table at dinner time or at special holidays? What's your habit around eating at lunchtime or at breakfast or late night snacking? And what would you like to shift so you can have more reminders to be grateful in the beginning of and throughout the meal? I look forward to hearing about your reflections and any suggestions for things that have worked well for you to become more mindful and appreciative of your food.